All right, so today we're diving into something that might make some people a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Thewizardliz and her YouTube video,
Okay.
where she explores this idea of becoming selfish. So right off the bat,
Right.
I think a lot of people are probably thinking, wait, hold on. Isn't that like the opposite
Exactly.
of we all
Wouldn't that have a loaded word?
supposed to be striving for?
Yeah, especially because so many of us are, well, I think particularly women, are kind of conditioned to be people pleasers.
Totally.
To put everybody else's needs ahead of our own.
And that's exactly what the Wizardliz was saying in her video, like she was talking about. You know, for years, being that person that everyone went to,
Right.
always giving, fixing, helping, and then feeling totally drained and unappreciated.
Yeah. You know, there was actually one line in the video that really stood out to me.
Okay.
She said, "Everybody claims to love me, but I do not feel loved." And I think that really kind of highlights the disconnect between, you know, constantly giving to others and then actually receiving the care and consideration that we deserve in return.
Yeah, it's like you're sacrificing your own well-being for the sake of everyone else, but not getting that same energy back.
Exactly. It's that classic people-pleasing paradox.
Totally. And so that's what led her to this solution of embracing selfishness.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, what does that even look like in practice?
Yeah.
Because it's not like she's saying, you know, ignore everyone and just do whatever you want.
No, it's not like that at all.
Right.
It's more about a conscious shift in mindset. Like, you know, prioritizing your needs and your well-being as a foundation for everything else.
So she gives some practical strategies for how to actually cultivate this selfish approach.
Yeah.
So one of the ones that really stood out to me was her advice on managing availability.
Yay.
Like being really intentional about not always being immediately available.
Oh, that's huge.
To everyone. Right.
Yeah, especially in today's world.
Yeah.
Where, you know, we're constantly bombarded by messages and notifications and everything.
Right. And it's so easy to feel like you have to be.
You always got to be on.
On all the time.
Yeah.
But she talks about setting boundaries around her time and her energy. And, you know, she gave examples like delaying responses to messages.
Sure.
Not feeling obligated to be the one offering advice and support all the time.
And that's so hard for a lot of people.
Oh, especially people who are like naturally empathetic.
Exactly.
And want to help.
Yeah.
It makes me think about that whole concept of like emotional labor.
Oh, yeah.
The unseen effort that we put in.
Exactly.
To managing our own emotions and then responding to the emotions of other people.
Totally.
And if we're constantly, you know.
On call.
On call emotionally.
Right.
It's no wonder we end up feeling depleted.
Yeah. Setting boundaries is just so crucial. It's about recognizing that you just can't be everything to everyone.
Right.
And that you deserve to have time and space. For yourself.
And it's not just about time. It's also about like what she called emotional energy.
Yes.
The energy she was willing to expend. So she talked about, for example, refusing to engage in arguments.
Oh, that's a good one.
With people who weren't genuinely open to listening.
Yeah, she talked about protecting her energy. And not getting sucked into those like draining, unproductive conversations.
Have you ever tried to reason with someone who's just
oh, yeah.
absolutely set in their ways and not willing to even consider
the worst.
Another perspective?
It's so exhausting.
It's like banging your head against a brick wall.
It is.
And it kind of makes me think of that concept.
Oh, yeah.
Of cognitive dissonance, where people avoid information that challenges their beliefs.
Totally.
So if someone's not open to listening, sometimes the best approach is just to disengage.
Yeah.
And recognize that you can't force someone to change their mind.
You can't.
And that kind of leads into another one of her strategies, which is accepting limitations.
Yeah.
Like she says that, you know, she openly acknowledges she can't save everyone.
Right.
And it's not her responsibility to fix other people's problems.
Which, again, can be really hard.
Oh, especially for people who are natural helpers.
Yes.
It's easy to fall into that trap of feeling responsible for other people's happiness or well-being.
Right. Like it's a reflection on us if we can't fix it.
But I liked how she framed it.
How did she frame it?
She said, people get problems because God gives that to them, and it's for them to learn.
Interesting.
So it might sound a little harsh at first, but when you break it down, it's really about
what is it about?
Allowing people to have their own experiences.
Right.
To learn and grow.
To make mistakes.
From their own challenges.
Yeah.
Even if that means making mistakes.
Yeah.
Or going through difficult times.
Yeah. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do.
Exactly.
Is to let them figure it out.
Is to let them figure it out for themselves.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads into another idea that she brings up, which is leading by example.
Yeah, I like that one.
Instead of trying to force people to change or see things her way, she focuses on her own growth.
Yeah, okay.
Her own journey of becoming more selfish in this healthy way.
Yeah.
And she believes that by living authentically, by embodying the values she wants to see in the world, she can inspire others without needing to preach or control them.
It's such a powerful distinction.
Yeah, it is.
It's about focusing on your own inner transformation and trusting that that will have a ripple effect on the people around you.
It's like be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly.
And there's actually research that kind of supports this.
Oh, really? Like social learning theory shows that people are more likely to adopt behaviors that they observe in others.
Especially those they admire.
Especially people they admire or identify with. So by focusing on her own growth and living in alignment with her values, she's inadvertently influencing those around her.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that concept of modeling that we see in parenting.
Oh, yeah.
Kids learn more from what we do
than what we say.
And I think that applies to adult relationships, too.
It does.
We're all constantly influencing each other, whether we realize it or not.
Absolutely.
And this is where I think this whole idea of becoming selfish starts to take on this whole new meaning.
Okay.
It's not just about self-indulgence or putting yourself above everyone else.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that your own growth, your own well-being,
is essential for you to show up as your best self in all areas of your life, including your relationships.
That makes sense.
It's like the oxygen mask analogy, right?
Yes.
You have to put your own mask on first.
Before you help anyone else.
Before you can help anyone else.
Yeah.
Because if you're depleted and exhausted, you're not going to be much use to anyone.
You're not going to be any good to anyone.
So becoming selfish in this context is really about self-preservation.
Yes.
It's about creating a solid foundation for yourself. So you can then extend that strength and support others.
That's a good point.
And speaking of foundations, she also emphasizes the importance of self-validation.
Oh, yes.
Of finding that sense of worth and value from within rather than relying on external sources for approval.
I like that.
She has this visual in the video where she talks about looking in the mirror and saying, I am amazing.
Oh, I love that.
Which I know might sound a little cheesy.
Yeah.
But it really gets to the core of what she's talking about.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing your own strengths and accomplishments. Appreciating yourself for who you are.
Yes.
Regardless of what other people say or think.
Right. And it really ties into a lot of the research.
Yeah.
On self-esteem and self-compassion.
Yeah.
You know, studies have shown that people with higher levels of self-esteem tend to be more resilient in the face of challenge.
More likely to pursue their goals and have healthier relationships overall.
That makes sense.
So it's almost like self-validation becomes this internal compass.
I like that.
That guides you towards making choices.
That
are aligned with your values and your well-being.
Rather than constantly seeking approval from other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that can be so freeing.
Oh, it is.
Because if you're always looking to others for validation, you're giving them the power to dictate your self-worth.
Yeah.
But when you cultivate that sense of self-love and acceptance from within, it becomes much harder for external factors to shake your confidence.
Absolutely. And you know what's interesting? Is that this idea of self-validation ties into her concept of what she calls embracing femininity.
Okay, I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
Because that seems like a key part of her philosophy, but maybe a little bit less straightforward.
It is.
In some of the other strategies.
Yeah, it's a little more nuanced.
Okay.
And we'll definitely unpack it more in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But essentially, she's talking about tapping into that receptive energy that's often associated with femininity. It's about trusting in the flow of life.
Okay.
About allowing yourself to receive the good things that are meant for you.
Okay.
Without feeling like you have to constantly hustle or force things to happen. It's almost like surrendering, like being willing to let go of control.
Yeah.
And just trusting that the universe has your back.
Interesting, because that kind of goes against what we hear a lot in like self-improvement advice.
Yeah.
A lot of it's focused on goal setting,
right,
action taking, hustling to achieve what you want.
Right.
But she's kind of saying that sometimes the most effective approach is to step back.
Okay.
Create space for things to unfold naturally.
Exactly. And she even connects this idea of embracing femininity to attracting abundance.
Okay.
She's suggesting that when we release that need to constantly strive and push, when we allow ourselves to just be, we actually become more magnetic and draw in the things we desire.
Interesting.
More easily.
It's like what you resist persists.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe by letting go of that tight grip on our desires, we actually create the space for them to manifest.
That's a great way to put it.
This actually aligns with some principles from energy psychology. Like the law of attraction, which suggests that our thoughts and emotions, they vibrate at certain frequencies, and we attract experiences that match those vibrations.
So if we're constantly in a state of striving and lack, we might actually be repelling the very things we want.
Exactly.
So it's not just about passively waiting for things to happen.
No.
It's about shifting your internal state to one of receptivity and abundance.
Which then allows those things to flow into our lives more easily.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So this ties into another fascinating aspect of her philosophy, the importance of self-reflection and self-care.
So how does she talk about that?
So she talks about having these deep conversations with herself, analyzing her feelings, and offering herself the same kind of compassionate advice
that she'd give to a friend.
I love that. It's like being your own best therapist. Because we're often so good at giving advice to others.
Yes.
But then we forget to apply that same wisdom to ourselves.
Totally. It's like we have this inner critic
that's
constantly judging us. But we wouldn't dream of talking to our friends like that.
Exactly.
So she's advocating for extending that same kindness and compassion to ourselves.
And she even talks about using self-soothing techniques.
Yeah, like what?
Like taking a warm bath, listening to calming music to regulate her emotions when she's feeling overwhelmed or stressed.
That really aligns with a lot of the research on mindfulness and emotional regulation. There are so many studies that show that practices like meditation, deep breathing, even just taking a few minutes to connect with nature can have such a profound impact on our mental and emotional well-being.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that self-care isn't a luxury.
It's not.
It's a necessity.
It's essential.
Taking care of our mental and emotional health is just as important as our physical health.
Absolutely. And this leads into another concept that she emphasizes, taking ownership of her life.
Okay, what does she mean by that?
So she talks about making decisions without needing permission or approval from others. Trusting her own intuition. And recognizing her own agency and capability.
So it's like she's reclaiming her power.
She is.
Not letting others dictate her choices or define her worth.
Exactly. It reminds me of the concept of locus of control.
Oh, okay.
Which refers to where we believe the power lies in our lives. So people with an internal locus of control believe they have agency. And they can influence their outcomes. While those with an external locus of control tend to feel like they're at the mercy of outside forces.
So she's cultivating an internal locus of control, recognizing that she has the power to create the life she wants.
Exactly.
To make her own choices.
Yes.
And take responsibility for her own happiness.
That's incredibly empowering.
It is.
Because it means you're not waiting for someone else to give you permission or tell you what you're capable of. You're stepping into your power and saying, I am the author of my own story.
And that level of self-belief can be so transformative.
Oh, it is.
It allows you to set bigger goals, to take risks, to step outside of your comfort zone, knowing that you have the strength and resilience to handle whatever comes your way.
Absolutely. And, this idea of taking ownership also ties into
Okay.
her approach to relationships.
Okay.
She's very intentional about the people she lets into her life, focusing on cultivating connections that are mutually beneficial, supportive, and inspiring.
It's like she's curating her social circle.
She is.
Choosing to surround herself with people who lift her up and contribute to her growth.
And not the ones who drain her energy.
Rather than those who bring her down.
Exactly. And that's such a crucial part of setting those healthy boundaries.
Right.
Recognizing that you have the right to choose who you spend your time with.
Yeah.
And that it's okay to walk away from relationships.
Yeah, that can be tough.
It can be really hard.
Especially if you've been conditioned to believe that you have to be nice to everyone.
Right.
Or that you should try to fix people's problems.
Yeah, but she's very clear.
She is.
About the importance of protecting her energy.
Yeah.
And not letting herself get sucked into those draining dynamics.
It's like she's saying, my time and energy are precious, and I'm going to invest them wisely.
Yeah, and that's not selfish.
And that's not selfish, right?
It's self-preservation.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's right. And speaking of pouring from an empty cup, she brings up a really interesting point about how her selfishness has actually improved her relationships.
Yes. She talks about how by prioritizing her needs and well-being, she's able to show up for her loved ones in a more authentic and empowered way.
It's like that oxygen mask analogy again.
It is.
You have to take care of yourself first before you can effectively help anyone else.
Exactly. And she even suggests that her relationships have become more balanced and fulfilling because she's no longer trying to be everyone's savior or people pleaser.
Right.
She's setting boundaries, communicating her needs, and allowing others to take responsibility for themselves.
Which can be a huge game changer.
Oh, yeah.
In relationships, right? Because it creates a dynamic of mutual respect and support.
Right.
Rather than one person constantly giving and the other constantly taking.
That makes sense.
And that aligns with some principles from attachment theory.
Oh, really?
Which suggests that secure relationships are characterized by a balance of interdependence and autonomy.
So it's not about being completely independent.
Right.
Or completely dependent.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot.
Yes.
Where you can maintain your sense of self while also feeling connected and supported.
That's a good point.
And that's where I think this idea of becoming selfish really shines, because it's not about neglecting your relationships.
Right.
It's about strengthening them by prioritizing your own well-being.
Yes.
So you can show up as your best self.
Exactly. It's like she's saying, by taking care of myself, I'm actually becoming a better partner, a better friend, a better family member.
And that's a pretty powerful message.
It is. It really is.
It challenges that traditional notion.
Right?
That selflessness is
the ultimate virtue.
The ultimate virtue.
Yeah.
In relationships. Maybe true selflessness comes from a place of wholeness, from taking care of our own needs, so we can then freely give to others without resentment or depletion.
It's like you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. And she seems to have figured out how to fill her cup so she can share her abundance with the world.
And that brings us to a really intriguing question that she poses towards the end of the video. She asks, could embracing aspects of selfishness, like prioritizing our well-being and setting boundaries, actually make us more attractive and appealing to others?
Wow. Now that is a thought-provoking question.
It is.
Because it really turns conventional wisdom on its head.
It does.
We're often told that we need to be selfless in giving to be attracted to others.
Yeah.
But she's suggesting that maybe it's the other way around.
Yeah, maybe when we're grounded in our own worth, when we radiate self-love and confidence, we actually become more magnetic and draw people in.
Yeah, it's like we become this beacon of authenticity and self-assurance.
Yes.
And that's attractive.
It is.
Yeah, and there's actually research that supports that.
Oh, really?
Like studies have shown that people who are comfortable in their own skin, who have a strong sense of self, tend to be perceived as more attractive and likable.
That makes sense.
So it's not about trying to be someone you're not.
Right.
It's about embracing your true self.
Yeah.
Quirks and all.
Right, your authentic self.
Yeah.
And that's the key to forming genuine connections.
Totally.
Yeah, I think so.
So this whole idea of becoming selfish, leading to stronger relationships, that's fascinating.
It is.
It really makes you think.
It does.
Maybe it's time we re-examine our assumptions about what it means to be a good partner.
Oh,
good friend, a good family member.
Yeah, maybe true generosity comes from a place of abundance.
Interesting.
Not from a place of depletion. And maybe the most loving thing we can do for ourselves and for those around us is to prioritize our own well-being.
It's definitely food for thought.
It is.
This whole deep dive into her video has given us a lot to ponder.
It has.
This whole idea of becoming selfish really challenges the traditional narrative of self-sacrifice, especially for women.
Yeah, like we're conditioned to believe that being a good woman means putting everyone else's needs before our own.
Right.
Being the caregiver, the nurturer, the one who holds everything together.
And it makes you wonder if that constant self-sacrifice is actually holding us back from reaching our full potential. If we're always putting ourselves last, are we really able to show up fully in our relationships, in our careers, in our lives?
It's like we're dimming our own light to make everyone else comfortable.
Yeah.
But what if by embracing our own needs and desires, we actually become a brighter light?
Right.
A source of inspiration and empowerment for others.
And she talks about how this whole shift towards selfishness has actually made her a better role model.
Oh, interesting.
Especially for her younger sister.
Okay.
She realized that by prioritizing her own well-being, by setting boundaries and pursuing her own goals, she was actually setting a positive example for her sister, showing her that it's okay to put yourself first, to dream big, to create a life that you love.
Actions speak louder than words.
Totally.
You can tell people all day long to go after their dreams. But if you're not living that truth yourself, it's not going to be very convincing.
And she's walking the walk.
She is.
Not just talking the talk.
Right.
She's showing her sister and all of us that becoming selfish isn't about being cold or uncaring.
Right.
It's about taking radical responsibility for your own happiness and well-being.
Yeah.
So you can then show up more fully in the world.
And that ripple effect is powerful.
Yeah. If each of us focuses on filling our own cups, we're going to have so much more to give to others.
Exactly. And this whole idea of selfishness as a catalyst for personal growth and positive change is actually reflected in various spiritual traditions, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like in Buddhism.
Okay.
There's this concept called self-cherishing, which emphasizes the importance of taking care of yourself in order to cultivate compassion and wisdom.
So it's not about being narcissistic or self-absorbed.
No.
It's about recognizing that our own well-being is interconnected with the well-being of others.
Exactly. And it sounds like she has really found that sweet spot where she's honoring her own needs while still showing up for the people she cares about.
She's not afraid to say no when she needs to.
Right.
But she's also there for her loved ones when they truly need her.
It's about finding that balance between taking care of yourself and being there for others.
And it sounds like becoming selfish, at least in her interpretation, is a key part of that equation.
Yeah, it really challenges our thinking
It does.
about what it means to be a good person.
Right.
Maybe it's time we reevaluated our definition of selfishness.
Totally.
Maybe it's not the villain we've been led to believe it is.
Maybe, just maybe, embracing certain aspects of selfishness can lead us to a more fulfilling, authentic, and connected life.
That's a good takeaway.
It is something to ponder.
Yeah, it is.
As always, we encourage you to take what resonates with you from this deep dive and leave the rest.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of becoming selfish.
Yeah, it was fun.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Yes.
And keep questioning everything.